Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Leading Off, brought to you by PrizePicks. Promo code Leading Off get you a 100% match up to $100. Why would you not want to get locked in? You can lock in with Bubba and myself because that is the bald co-host today. BD Entrick, Casey Bubba in the house. I'm Welsh, and we have got some trades. Trade deadline passed, Bubba. We had some pretty exciting stuff. Kind of whimper towards the end, even though there's a little bit going on. This is going to be like a very, very heavy MLB trade deadline breakdown show, my friend.
Yes, it's going to be. It was fun. It could have been crazier, as we said off the air, but there was a lot of action. A lot of kind of teams decided they wanted to try to go for it out of nowhere. Some teams just blowing up the ship. It was a weird trade deadline. I guess that's what we get now with a million teams making the playoffs.
Yeah, I was actually talking about it. I did CBS Sports HQ for a little bit. Yeah, I think right here. I think Angela was saying I was on that yesterday. That one of the things, and I think I also said this on a Sports Ethos broadcast, that like I think we all got like, oh, all these teams, leading up to the trade deadline are going to be, thinking, are they in it? And it might be weird for the trade deadline, then everything will explode. Well, I kind of actually think all those teams that were in it made people not sure because It's like there's a team that's 4 games or 5 games back. You're not quite the buyer. You're not quite the seller. And it just made teams hold back. I think Mike Hazen, obviously I pay attention to the Diamondbacks. Mike Hazen was asked like, why didn't you do more? Why didn't you get a pitcher? And he's like, the pitching market was rough. And we saw it in the trades. And we're going to talk about that, especially the big one. But of course, not only were they arguably one of the big trade winners at the deadline, they also took all the attention away from the trade deadline on, what the hell are we, Tuesday? It's Wednesday. I'm all thrown off by the new show schedule, Bubba, because Framber Valdez and the Houston Astros threw a no-hitter. Yes, a no-hitter. Framber only walked 1, struck out 7, did it in 97 pitches. 93. 97, 93, whichever one it was. Under 100 pitches is crazy. I'm blown away by that, especially because of just where he was at. This was his 3rd shutout, first no-hitter, and 9-7 on the season with a 3.07 ERA. Framber's been kind of dicey all year in, how we've been wanting to value him. No-hitter, if you could still sell at your fantasy trade deadline, is this an opportunity you're going to jump off of the bandwagon, or you think this is going to be a big turnaround with Verlander? And maybe, I don't know if there's a real pressure thing that's going on here, Bubba, but, he does get to move down, I suppose, in one spot of the order that they would be facing.
Yeah, I'm still Team Framber. Framber is one of my top pitchers going into the season. I love what Framber Valdez has to offer to the table. He had an ankle injury that kind of threw him back for a few starts. I think he's not a no-hit guy every time out, obviously. But Framber is a dude who's going to get 7 innings or more on a lot of starts. He's going to give you quality starts. I love what we saw there. It was the first no-hitter with less than 100 pitches in the 21st century. I saw that stat.
Really?
David Cone and one other kid is totally blanked out his name. Cone did it with 88 pitches back in the day. And it's the first no-hitter by a Astros pitcher by themselves, not a combined no-hitter, since Justin Verlander in 2019. On the same day, they got Justin Verlander. So karma. Karma is a fun thing.
It is. It's pretty appropriate. I'd love to see Framber get back to like who he was originally. I'm looking at his zone charts. In the zone charts, I think I wish I could actually pull it up here. I'm going to look compared to 2022. He's using curveball, cutter, changeup. The 2022 version had the changeup a little bit higher in the zone. The cutter was eating that bottom left corner a whole lot, as was the curveball. The curveball actually had a big old red spot right outside of the strike zone, which was inducing a lot more strikes. The curveball is just not as effective there, and the changeup is sitting a little bit lower. So the only problem, I suppose, is Framber hasn't really been able to induce the top half of the zone for hitters. It's just a fastball. Last year, he could get a curveball there. He could get a changeup. The bottom of the zone is off speed. The top of the zone is a fastball, which maybe has led to some of the struggles. He's been hit harder. Barrel percentage is the second highest of his career. The average EV is the highest of his career, but he's also striking out one of the highest of his career. Now he's got a sub-expected 4 ERA after this no-hitter. Pretty awesome performance, but also, I kind of see it as maybe an opportunity to sell. So who did they get? Yes, They got Justin Verlander, and they traded the house. What a weird... This was the trade, dude, that I was like, oh, okay. Because well, not shocked that Verlander would go to the Astros. I was shocked that the Astros gave up Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford. If you're not prospect savvy, Drew Gilbert is absolutely a top prospect. Struggled a little bit in his move up, but from high A to double A, he's lowered his strikeout percentage. He's raised his walks, and his batting average has gone down a little bit. ISO has struggled, but the guy's already hit double A. And this is a 2020 potential bat. I never thought that they would trade. Then they also get this kid, Ryan Clifford, who's a big power potential, 18 homers so far in 2 different levels. Part of the reason is because the Mets are paying $54 million on an assumed pickup of an option to get those prospects. They traded Verlander in $54 million for Drew Gilbert, which is absurd. So, we don't need to go crazy into the Drew Gilbert stuff. I think this is a good destination long-term. Thoughts on Justin Verlander? Are we an up for him being with Houston now? He's had a good July, 1.69 ERA in July, but he's at like an all-time low in strikeouts, and walks are up. So what's your take on this version of Verlander we're going to get?
I think it's a good Verlander, just what we've seen in recent month or so. But is it going to be the Cy Young Verlander? No, we're not going to see that anytime soon. Maybe we get a better glimpse of it next year, a year removed from the injury. It's a needed addition to the Houston Astros as they want to go for another World Series because, Christian Javier is struggling. They're getting Urquidy back, but to what level? There's holes in the rotation that Verlander definitely is going to help with. So you're getting a very, very good Verlander. Is it the Cy Young Verlander? No, but it's a high quality Verlander that it's necessary for a team that wants to go for, especially if they even think they're going to the World Series and you face a team like the Braves. You need another big time pitcher to go with Framber and company, because in reality, how many more innings does Hunter Brown even have? How deep can he go into the season? There's a lot of questions in that rotation.
Would you be willing, is Verlander a sell? I mean, I kind of presented you with Framber coming off of the no-hitter. There's an ultimate peak value off of some struggles. And like I said, his expected ERA is closer to 4 still. And there are some things as far as how he's getting hit are not great. Verlander, same thing. It's been a phenomenal run. He's going back to his team, but he has the lowest strikeout percentage of his career right now. Highest walk percentage, second highest walk percentage of his career, the second highest expected ERA of his career. So those are not exactly awesome, but the great July and the trade to the Astros has him like at peak value. So would you be willing, or are you going to just ride it out if you had to pick one?
I would be willing to listen to offers for Justin Verlander because I think you could probably sell high in this scenario, like you're saying. I see where you're going with that one because he is the new flavor of the week right now, and he has been pitching well. So I'd be cool with doing that. Maybe you get a couple starting pitchers to fill a void of one or something along those lines. So, like, if you could flip Verlander for Zach Wheeler, sign me up. Stuff like that. I
feel like you could maybe flip him for like Wheeler plus. And
yeah, no, 100%. I'm with you. I just think Wheeler's better than Verlander, period. So if you can sell him for more, go for it.
Yeah, before he gets moved. So check this out too, because I was talking with Bubba about this. Completely enamored with this. The Mets. The thing I never expected at the trade deadline was that the Mets were going to pay the money that they did to acquire prospects and get rid of players. $54 million and $35 million in the Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander trade. That is $89 million that they sent. So the question is, do you guys know how many... I'm going to ask the chat this real quick. How many teams have a lesser of a payroll than what the Mets paid to get rid of Scherzer and Verlander? Let's say DeGrom. So $89 million. Can you guys guess real quick? Because then I'm going to quiz Bubba here for a second to see if he can get. How many teams have a payroll under $89 million, which Steve Cohen took a lighter and went, whoosh, burned it, threw it out there. Sabo's Goggles says 8. Donnie said 19. No, there's a lot more than that. Sabo's Goggles says 8. Eric also said 8. Ooh, other Eric. We got all the Erics in the chat. 6. I'm going to say Eric is getting warmer. All of them? No. The answer, and you guys can go in the chat for the next question, is 5. There are 5 teams, according to Spotrac, that have less than 90 or 80, less than $90 million on their payroll. 5 teams. So Bubba and chat, can you name those teams that have a lower payroll than what Steve Cohen burned to the ground at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I made a list here, so we're going to see if this works. Tampa Bay's one, so we already talked about that. I knew that one out the
They're
gate.
the fourth lowest, $77 million. That's the fourth. Chat, you're welcome to jump in with some names here.
Pittsburgh Pirates.
Pittsburgh Pirates are the second lowest, $68 million.
Cleveland Guardians.
That's a great one. That's number 5. That was $87 million. So you're down
You
to
take J-Ram off of that, they're like $33 million.
You're down to the lowest and the and the third lowest.
Detroit Tigers.
Incorrect. The Detroit Tigers actually have a payroll of $121 million. I think that's thanks to Miggy in there.
What about the Miami Marlins?
Incorrect. $100 million.
There's some in the chat that makes sense. Royals in the chat is one.
That's a great guess. I saw Eric in there and Trevor. Yeah. Incorrect.
Really?
They are actually 6th.
Oakland Athletics. How did I not say Oakland Athletics? I'm a moron. That's the lowest payroll in all of baseball.
That is the lowest at $56 million. Here's a stat. The money they sent just for Justin Verlander was $2 million short of the entire A's payroll. There's one more team on here that I don't think anyone has guessed. You want one last shot?
One last team.
This team is in playoff contention right now.
Playoff contention. Well, there's a lot of teams. I won't waste time. Who you got?
Chat. The Baltimore Orioles, $70 million.
Because they have all the prospects. They're cheap.
That's right. It's very cheap right now. The Baltimore Orioles were the Reds was also a good guess. They were they were 7th lowest. So that's how many teams had less of a payroll than what the Mets did, which I thought was insane. I thought that was crazy. All right, so other trades. My stupid Arizona Diamondbacks traded Stabby himself, Tommy Pham. Don't mess with that man's money, especially in fantasy football, or he is going to slap you. They also got some cash considerations. They traded absolutely nothing to the Mets. This was one of those where the Mets, again, they sent money. They sent Tommy Pham. The Diamondbacks will pick up the money. To be fair, this was nothing. This is a nothing burger. Good. The stupid Diamondbacks can spend some money. They needed a right-handed bat, especially in the outfield, because it's like literally if they go Alec Thomas, Corbin Carroll, and Jake McCarthy, all lefties. So they needed that right-handed bat in the outfield. Tommy Pham has had a pretty good year, regardless of the sourpuss that he is or not. What do you think about Pham with that Arizona offense?
I like him for the offense in a big way. He's been having a really good year, especially the last month and a half or so. He's looking healthy. My biggest question, and I'm glad I'm talking to you because I talked with it on Bloomfield on our show last night. We recapped the trades that where does this work? Because you had the best defensive outfield in all of baseball. Is he platooning with McCarthy? Is that how we're seeing this? Or is he just DHing primarily?
I think he'll DH.
How does he incorporate?
I think it's going to be a primary DH because they've liked to run Lourdes Gurriel out in left a decent amount. So I think what this is going to do is this is going to put Lourdes Gurriel in left, and then this is going to have Corbin Carroll in most likely center, but Carroll will move over to right when Alec Thomas is there, and this will be a platoon situation between McCarthy, Lourdes, and Alec. Those three will all switch. Tommy Pham DHs, but I still think Lourdes can move to DH, and Tommy could play a little bit of left field. So Corbin is unfazed by this. This just kind of alters the rotation a little bit. But I think this is a good offensive spot for him. He's been stealing bases. He can hit homers. There's a lot of lineup protection. If he hits 5, I would guess, because Lourdes, let's say, Carroll's hitting 3. Lourdes hits, I think, 2. Cattell's leading off. You got Christian Walker at 4, so he's probably going to hit 5 or 6. There's a lot of RBI opportunities with those guys.
So does Perdomo move to the bottom of the order now?
I think he could. It's something they do like to hit Perdomo at the top of the order. Yeah, so I mean, that's
until
why
he gets picked off by a catcher last night. But
that's why he could move to 6. Yeah, they said they cannot have that. And you absolutely cannot have that happen. So you know what, Tommy Pham, even a better offensive option. I still hated the trade, and it was hilarious that it happened, but it did. The Marlins acquired a burger, as I am probably going to later, maybe about as well. Yeah, for Jake Eater. So thoughts on Burger. The only sad thing is Burger's probably not going to get that second base eligibility now.
That's huge.
Yeah, so talk to me about Burger.
That's the biggest takeaway is like I was so excited to have a second base, third base Jake Burger, big boy like myself playing second base. It's like slow pitch softball stuff. But it's it is what it is, a more pitcher friendly ballpark he's moving to. He's still going to play every day, still going to play third base. I just think it's great for people that are sarcastic like us. You get a burger for an eater. It's pretty good stuff. You can't make that stuff up.
No, you can't. I need to figure out. I was trying to figure out if the Marlins had any other food-based players, and I want to find, because I did the food-based team. We were talking about this the other day.
That was good.
But like, who is the most food-based team? Like, has the most food-based players? So, by the way, where's your favorite burger?
Oh, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna get canceled. I like to go.
You'd be like, oh, In-N-Out.
No, In-N-Out's not the best burger.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Five Guys because you can design it the way you want it. I've never had Whataburger, so
and
I
you
can't
like
even
to put out a loan for your burger.
That's the only problem. It's expensive. So in reality, if like as silly as it sounds, if you go to the right one, Carl's Jr. is not that bad when it comes to burgers per se.
Tell Bogman, yeah.
But
I mean, the answer is Whataburger, but that's fine.
I've never been, so can't help you.
You still didn't go out here?
No. I was no.
So what you got to do is Jason Collette. Everybody, we all love Jason.
We know
Collette.
that.
Jason Collette is a connoisseur of Whataburger, and Bogman went out with him. You got to go with those two, and then we got to do a special when you're out here in Arizona because Whataburger is a place.
Sign me up.
All right, what chat? Burger place. Where's the best burger? You guys post that under. A couple of the big trades. The Guardians acquired Gene Segura, who they then said, peace, cut him, and they got Khalil Watson for Josh Bell. So, the Manzardo stuff, I still don't think this really affects anything, but they've already kind of cleared that. I was shocked that Watson did this, but that he was traded for just Josh Bell. But part of the problem was also, I think, about them trading Josh Bell out, maybe even paying money, so Josh Bell didn't pick up his option. So he's a player option. So that was a really interesting trade that went down. Fantasy, I don't know if there's really any fantasy implications there. There's not a lot of runners. There's just a bunch of huge power in Miami, so I don't really know if there's anything to take back. Maybe Gene Segura might go somewhere, but any thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's just kind of a lateral move again. Bell is starting to hit in Cleveland. Goes to Miami. We'll see how it goes. I think long term for the Marlins, it's great. They're getting a core of more young players because they had all those outfielders. Now they have an infield kind of base they're building.
Yeah. And then the Orioles did make a move. They acquired Jack Flaherty, from the Cardinals for Cesar Prieto and Drew Rom. I was on, when CBS I was on, and they were all like being like every trade, like, oh, things are cool. And then they went to me about Jack Flaherty, and I was just like, yeah, Jack Flaherty is like the I lost and I have to do something type of move. I'm like, it stinks. This is a stinky move. Maybe they'll fix something with him. I think maybe they can work on the curveball or something, but everything is down. Whiffs are down in general. Velo is down. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on this. Do you think the Orioles can fix Flaherty, and he's someone we should be paying attention to?
I don't know if they can fix him in time. I pay attention to him. I've been streaming him throughout the year. He's not a locked in every time out type guy, but I've definitely been streaming him. And again, similar to some other teams we talked about, there's so many young pitchers have been called up. The Orioles just sent Taylor Wells back to the minors because he's already over his innings limit from last year. They have a lot of young arms. They're going to need, and that's what Flaherty can do, is eat at least 5 to 6 innings every time out.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so I'm going to burn through some of these other trades here after, if there's a guy or two, you can focus on it. Phillies acquired Michael Lorenzen. That was kind of a shocker for Hei-Yu Lee, good prospect infielder. That one pissed me off, though, because it's like, could nobody else beat that? Like Diamondbacks, you couldn't beat that.
Said the same thing as the Giants. I'm like, really?
Yeah, Giants didn't do anything. Like, no one could beat that. I would have rather had him. A head scratcher, which absolutely destroys value. The Padres acquired Scott Barlow from the Royals for Henry Williams and Jesus Rios. Barlow decimated value because they didn't move on from Hader, so he is done. Carlos Hernandez would be someone you could probably turn your focus to for closing for saves with the Royals. I would look at that. So it's just such a weird one. Also, the Padres made a move acquiring Garrett Cooper and Sean Reynolds and some cash for Ryan Weathers, who went over to the Marlins. Another one of those moves. Red Sox acquired Luis Urias from the Brewers. So, bye-bye. That leaves up some room for there. Brewers acquired Andrew Chafin for the Diamondbacks for literally nothing. Peter Strzelecek. The Diamondbacks local radio guys were hilarious. They're like, hey, we got a young bullpen arm. Strzelecek's 28 years old. That's not a young bullpen arm. So, LOL, that's absolutely nothing. They gave him for free. White Sox acquired Luis Patino, so Luis Patino sighting. Maybe he can resurrect his career a little bit like a Reynaldo Lopez, going in relief and maybe getting some closing options down the line, something I was thinking. Padres, I forgot about this, also acquired Rich Hill and Ji-Man Choi for Jackson Wolf. and Estuar Suara, who is a guy I've seen a bunch out here in Complex, and Alfonso Rivas. And then the Blue Jays acquired Paul DeJong in cash considerations from the Cardinals for Matt Swanson with the potential injury, or not severe injury, of Bo Bichette. Any of those jump out to you as a huge positive or negative on the other trades?
The Padres kind of surprised me coming in at the last hour to kind of make a bunch of okay moves, I guess. Rich Hill gives them the depth they needed. The G-Man Choi Cooper thing really stinks because I love Cooper. I've been playing him a lot. Now they're going to be strictly in a platoon, and it makes sense in real-life baseball because Cooper dominates lefties, Choi righties. So Cooper's fantasy value takes a massive hit in that scenario for me. Other than that, though, out of this list, nothing too crazy. The only thing I will mention, and I apologize if you have it hidden somewhere in the outline here, the best move that didn't happen on the day was Eduardo Rodriguez putting his hand to the face of the Dodgers.
Yeah. That was
every bit about that.
That was my just for fun. Is that Jeff Passan had reported, and I should have asked him because Jim Bowden was on the show I was on yesterday, and he seemed to know what was going on. But what happened was apparently the Dodgers and Tigers had agreed to a trade for Eduardo Rodriguez, and then Eduardo said, "Suck it." He said, "Nope." Hands to the face. He blocked the trade using his no trade clause. Bowden seemed to indicate that it was a big trade. Because
ouch.
If you know, Eduardo has the ability to pick up a player option, which would have made him a 3-year, $49 million rest of the way. So by virtue of picking that up, that would have been really valuable. He seemed to indicate that there were some big pieces going over to the Tigers. So I don't know what that was. Could it have been Michael Busch, Bobby Miller? We'll never know because Eduardo said, suck it to the Dodgers. And all of us as Diamondback Giants fans, we can appreciate that to some degree.
Yeah, I had so many questions because somehow out of the 10 teams on his no trade list, the Dodgers met the list, which you don't see probably on anybody else's no trade clause. And the other things I heard through reports is he wanted to go to Boston or Baltimore, where he's been in his career, and go contend with them. So what I really question, and maybe Bowden would have been good for this too, is the Tigers spent all that time negotiating. Did they forget to ask the man they had to get approval? Like you literally, it's going in like when you go and study for a test and realize, oh wait, that was the wrong chapter. I spent all night studying, and now it's not even this test we're taking now. Like, what are you doing here? Come on, people.
Yeah. By the way, he's pitching right now, already given up an earned run.
Yeah,
I think he's got bases loaded, so this might get stinky. So
I don't care. He can do it for the Tigers all season for all I care.
I guess so. All right, on some injuries with the trade. Oh, just real quick. I know we're spending so much time. We'll go a tiny bit over here. You guys aren't going to hate me for it. Any clear winner or loser from the deadline for you?
Losers would be the New York Mets. Because I know it maybe in like 6 years it'll be great because they got a bunch of teenagers and they got good ones. I'm not going to say that. Like I won't knock it that much, but when you go all in like that, and then the reports that have already come out said we're not really even trying to contend in 24. Like we're here. So they basically said they're not on Ohtani's. What that says to me.
I don't believe one.
Epler said that though. Also, it wasn't just the Scherzer thing.
It.
Yeah, I'd be shocked too with Cohen and his ego and his money. I'd be shocked. But I'd say the Mets. I love what the Rangers did. I absolutely love the Rangers what they did because. They're already a contending team with that offense. They got pitching depth, which we've seen. You never can have too much pitching depth in baseball. I love what the Rangers did. That bolstered them big time for me.
Rangers were my number one. Right, that's what I said on the broadcast too. Rangers getting Montgomery and Max Scherzer, Max covering essentially DeGrom until he gets back is phenomenal. I love what they did. My losers, Yankees and the Giants, because they didn't do anything. And Giants are 2.5 games out. Yankees, I know they were bottom of the division, 10 games out of first, but you were still 4 or 5 games over 500. Both of them not being aggressive and making any moves. I thought that was a pretty big loser move.
I'll second your Giants comment there, especially as a jilted Giants fan. First this offseason that they butchered, and now this. Like I like Farhan Zahidi, but lately it's not looking good lately.
No, well, also like everyone's like, oh, the market was really aggressive, but when you see Michael Lorenzen go for a okay prospect, a fine prospect, it's like, well, any competing team should have met that. They should have competed with that. When I see Jordan, I think of Diamondbacks, like Jordan Hicks, it's like teams could have competed for that bullpen help. So those are kind of some of the losers. On the injury front, some injuries. John Schneider told reporters on Tuesday that the MRI on the injured knee of Bo Bichette revealed no structural damage. Whew, we can all take a breath. Paul DeJong doesn't have to take over that spot. Mike Trout told reporters on Tuesday that he felt better than expected after taking some of those good old dry swings. Better than them wet ones. Some dry swings were feeling real good for Mike Trout, I guess. So whatever that is. You ever done some dry swings?
Not in the daytime hours, no.
Yeah, you a wet swing guy?
More often than not. Yep.
Little moist swing. All right, there you
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
Hunter Green, he actually he pitched a rehab assignment out here in the complex. I wasn't able to get there yesterday. He pitched 2 innings. I don't think he gave up a hit. Struck out 3 for the Reds. So it looks like he's going to be back in middle August. But he's already started that, so that's good news. Bad news: Joe Musgrove was scratched today from his start due to shoulder soreness. No bueno. That added a full run to the team total as well. So if you took that early, good on you. Pirates activated Key Brian Hayes from the 10-day IL. Cardinals placed Brennan Donovan on the 60-day IL with a right elbow strain ending his season. So, not great, but they've got a lot of position flexibility anyways. Griffin Canning was placed on the 15-day IL with a right calf tightness. And Logan O'Hoppe, out since April with a torn labrum, is going to go on a rehab assignment next week. Expected to do the whole thing, but just throwing that out to you guys, especially in your trades and stuff. Go pick up Logan O'Hoppe if he's not already. Stash him on the IL. He'll be back probably in, I'm guessing, 3 weeks, and that is going to look nice. That's going to be a nice added addition. Are you down with the pickup of O'Hoppe?
I love O'Hoppe. I had a ton of shares of him before the injury, and I dropped them everywhere. Of course, the only concern, the little bit of concern I'll give: shoulder injuries. How much does the power come back? Those are those little bits there, but he seems healthy. All the reports have looked great, so I'm all in if he comes back good to go.
Eduardo got out of that about with a strikeout.
Yep,
I have a bet going, and I can't give it to you guys. We can pick someone else, but I paired Eduardo again on the strikeout, so I'm glad that you got out with a strikeout. So come on, we're
one more quick injury thing. Chris Sale threw a rehab start on Tuesday night. He threw 40 pitches, 26 strikes, and they said they might bring him back early just and ramp him up in the bigs if he feels good. So keep an eye on that. I think he still has one more rehab start probably, but don't be shocked if he's back real soon.
100%. 3 up and 3 down. Juan Soto homered twice, drove in 4 runs on Tuesday. Bam. Michael Harris also hit a pair of solo homers. I believe Dansby Swanson made it well. There's someone I left them out. The reason I left out the third hitter is because Andrew Heaney struck out 11, only 2 hits in 6 2/3, no earned runs. That's that Andrew Heaney that I've been waiting for. Rangers need that. You want to talk about 3 down? We could just focus on this one player. Dude, I did this 3 times looking over thinking this was a mistake. One of the ways we do this is FantasyPros has a cool thing you can check out that you can check daily stats. Ben Lively got lit. 13 earned runs, 4 homers in 4 innings. I didn't think that was real, dude.
Yeah, it's one of those where you're sitting there at about the 8th run and you look at the dugout and go, he has a family. Like, he has a family, man. Like help the boy out.
Please get him out of there. What the hell are we doing? That's a wild number, so get out of that quickly. Will Smith went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. This guy did get a hit, but I'm going to talk about him. Ellie De La Cruz went 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Why? Well, this is his second straight 3 strikeout game, and over his last 14 at-bats, he has 7 strikeouts. That is a 50% strikeout rate over those 14 at-bats. As fun as Ellie is, the roller coaster is a little bit bumpy, Bubba. I think you would agree with that.
To say the least, he's like a juiced up Jorge Mateo is the way I look at it. So buckle up, enjoy a little extra power, but it's a lot of it's going to be some rough nights, rough weeks. That's the hard thing. If you're in head-to-heads, it's going to be tricky. Roto, if you just wait for the season, you'll be happy. Head-to-heads, Ellie is going to be tough.
It's a little bit tough. Let's not make it tough. Let's make it easy with PrizePicks. Promo code leading off. Get a 100% match up to $100. Doesn't matter. It's the end of the season. Guess what? Take advantage. I mean, the books start putting out some numbers that they shouldn't. Take advantage of those. Get some lineups. Win some money. 1, 2. Well, I guess you got to do at least 2. But 2, 3, 4, 5. The money keeps going up, and you can play with us. Please do it. Check it out. Promo code leading off. Bubba, who do you got on the PrizePicks today?
There's a little combo package. I tried to do all evening games so people can listen throughout the day. Wheeler and Braxton Garrett combined over 13 strikeouts. I like that one quite a bit. I think it's going to be a really good pitching duel. Garrett got back on track. Give me Wheeler over 38.5 fantasy points versus the Marlins. Wheeler has been one of the best pitchers in baseball over the last month. And give me Nico Horner over 7.5 fantasy points. I think the Cubs just take care of business once again against the Reds tonight. And Nico Horner's been stealing bases like crazy. They'll almost give him his fantasy points all in one time.
I like that. I am going with Senga, fantasy score 34.5. Kodai Senga, fantasy score 34.5. Actually, I'm going to do this last one. Jose Ramirez, I'm on him today, fantasy score 8. This one is a wild number,
yes.
and maybe they're trying to get us to play the under, and I'm doing it. Fernando Tatis, 3.5 hit run RBI. So, of course, if the guy hits a 2-run shot, he covers it. So he's got that. But I've never seen 3.5 on the hit run. So I'm taking the under on Fernando Tatis to go under 3.5 hit run RBI. Hopefully I can nail that one, but that's a wild number, dude.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. I know it's the Coors effect, Freeland coming back off the IL, but that still requires a pretty impressive. Like, he can go 3 for 4 with 3 singles and he still lose. Like, it has to run real good.
It's crazy. All right, bets. What do you got on your best bets for today?
It was a weird slate. Like, nothing really jumped out except you're going to have a lot of Philly Miami love for me. First 5 Philly Miami under 4. Again, I think it's a good pitcher's duel out the gate. And then I love attacking this Cardinals Minnesota game with Joe Ryan and Dakota Hudson. So give me Edward Julian over 1.5 total bases at plus 145. And then Lars Nootbaar over 1.5 total bases at plus 125. Both swinging pretty good bats. Should get on base and have some fun.
I like that one. All right. I have a couple plays that you guys are probably used to me for, some first 5s. I'm trying to make it a little bit easier, a little bit more juicy. It's just been, I don't know. I've been getting a little too cute. So I'm going with Detroit first 5. Well, I guess that doesn't even matter anymore. I forgot about that. I was going with them on the first 5 money line. Where are we at on that? I think I can cover. So that one is not going to matter for you anymore. Unless you like the live bet. Maybe you can jump in on the live bet here. The other one is Minnesota. I think you were just talking about them. First 5 money line. I think it's around 130, 140. See where you can get it. Maybe you make it part of a lay piece. And then I had an Eduardo strikeout prop going with Logan Webb. Take off Eduardo. Maybe you can find someone else that you like.
Throw Kota Senga in there. You like Kota Senga? Go for it.
I like Kota Senga. The strikeouts, it's like 6.5.
6 is
and
tough.
It's the Royals who don't strike out a bunch. I might be down to do that. I would always suggest you play these solo and not parlay them. The only problem is I think Webb is like 4.5 at like minus 160. So that's a tough one. So if you can find a lay piece, he would be my core.
Juice Webb to 5.5.
Yeah, exactly.
Love there.
Yeah, if you have a book that you can play it up, I would even play 5.5 against the Diamondbacks. But Webb, Minnesota money line through the first 5. Those are my big focal points. DFS. Bubba, what's on docket for the DFS today?
We got an 8-game slate tonight starting at 7:05 Eastern. So some DK picks I'm looking at. Garrett Cole leads the way at 10-8 against Tampa Bay. Over the last 2 months, Cole has been Cole. He's been very, very good. So I have no problem. And the Rays are striking out 25% of the time versus righties over the last month. So give me Cole. I like Kota Senga against Kansas City at 9.5K. Probably one of the best prices per pitcher on this. And then Grayson Rodriguez looked great in his last 2 starts, going into Toronto at 7.2K at Bichetless Toronto team. If we're stacking things up, Minnesota versus Dakota Hudson, love that, especially value-wise with Wallner and Kepler and company. The Dodgers versus Hogan Harris will always be popular. And then the Mets, even though they've been selling, they still have some of their big offensive pieces, and they have a good matchup versus Reagan's in Kansas City. Then a couple of value pieces. Mark Vientos, he's been playing lately. He's first base, third base at 2K versus Vientos. That's the dirt minimum. And then I mentioned Twins. Matt Wallner is 2.4K versus Dakota Hudson. He's basically Joey Gallo light for $2,000 less. So have fun with that.
I like that. Like So Rare. Go and check out So Rare. Go to fantasypros.com/collect. You can sign up today. It is never too late. Start collecting yours, because not only do you have them, you own them. It's not just like, hey, look at these are cool. I can put they're yours. They're yours. And you can get limited up to 1 of 1s. Go and check out SoRare.com or go to fantasypros.com/collect. You can also check out the So Rare League we've got. fantasypros.com/leading-off-league. Play with all of our guys all throughout the year. Want to get in on it because we'll be back with it again next year. Why wouldn't you want to go check that out? Interesting in the chat. I didn't notice this. I just want to point out to you guys as well, very heavy day of news. As you guys know, with the trade deadline, we'll be a lot more interactive with the chat, getting your questions, bringing stuff up on when we don't have literally 4,000 trades to talk about. So I kind of ignored you guys today. We won't do that. But Trax said that they had that for yesterday for Tatis. 3.5.
He would have covered it yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're probably going to keep putting it up because people want to take the under until he doesn't.
Well, I laughed because earlier in the day, Soto was over 1.5, and that line disappeared.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Home run call. We both smacked on Monday. We both took Jordan. I guess we kind of, I probably need to be specific about it. I guess we had Jordan yesterday. I didn't put anything. I would say if you guys are premium members over on Fantasy Pros, you can get in the Discord where you can also make these picks. That's how you make your picks. I could go in there as well, and I can go and change my pick at any time, and you can do all the fun stuff. So I highly suggest you go and do that. Sign up today. But on the home run call for today, and Bubba, you can also claim it through Thursday if you would like until we are back on Friday. Who you taking?
Today, on Wednesday, give me Dansby Swanson. I know he double donged on Tuesday, but he's swinging in an extremely hot bat. You got the lefty Brandon Williamson on the mound for Chicago. Or for Cincinnati, I expect the Cubs to have another big day in Wrigley Field.
Yeah, and I'm going kind of against a pitcher matchup as well in this, and I got to pull back up. I got to start writing like who it was. I have all this great logic I do beforehand, and then I do 1,200 other things, and then I come back and I'm like, why did I like that? I took Jose Ramirez today versus the Astros, even though I still like the Astros. Bybee is up there, but Blanco has given up, I believe, 2 homers in like 4 of his last 5 starts that he's been out there. He gives up homers. Who's the guy that you're going to bet on with the Guardians? It's Ramirez. We also saw last weekend he had back-to-back double homer days. So I really like Jose Ramirez today. That is going to be my bet. I also had him over on the PrizePicks. And that's it, man. That's what we got. We also will, I'll probably jump in the Discord on Thursday to change out my pick for Thursday, and then we'll be back on Friday. So yeah, like I said, you guys come and hang out with us in the chat. We will be a lot more interactive. Want to get any trades you guys have going on, your start and sits, as we're going through all the latest news. But we're kind of out of that now. We're out of the chaos, Bubba, because trade deadline is done. Rosters are set. This is going to be major, major crunch time, and that's what we're here for.
Yep, the biggest thing now is prospects coming up, because some of these teams are going to be out of players pretty soon. So it's going to get really interesting.
Yeah, the prospects. So I'll go through too, and I'll put together some of the prospects that I think are going to be coming up soon. I do think we're getting into crapshoot time, like big crapshoot time, because this is the month where teams are not going to bring up prospects that they want to manipulate to next year.
Yep, that's
so
September time.
Like I'll tell you one, like Pete Crow Armstrong is someone I'm very focused on.
Head,
yeah, he just got brought up to AAA. He's not coming up this month, but September, when they can bring him up in control, I think he's a possibility.
Like Mason Wynn, that's a popular name. Stuff like that, maybe. So yeah.
Yeah, and the team might want to, and they might not want to bring him up in August so they can control that.
They're tanking, so why bring him up in August now?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a whole bunch more. You can find Bubba on Twitter at BDIntrick. You can find me on Twitter at IsItTheWelsh. Make sure you guys are following this YouTube channel if you're watching live, so you're notified when we're live, and you're subscribed to the podcast, because Bubba and me are out here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sorry we're not out here every single day. I felt like I needed to come out yesterday. It felt weird, but yeah, hands are tied, so we got it. But I'll give you a little bit more today. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for the live chat, and thank you for all the listeners and all the people that didn't ditch us just because Joe's gone. Joe's, I'm in betting pros. I do betting stuff, whatever.
Look, he came in the chat on Monday. Never saw him today.
Oh, interesting. Just already gave up on us. All right. Well, we love you guys. We will talk to you again right here on Fantasy Pros MLB. It's leading off. Bubba Welsh. We out. Bye-bye.